right, welcome to the Strategy Shift podcast. Today we're joined by Jim Camic, founder of BallaVive Leadership Partners. He helps companies fix the people and HR challenges that impact growth and profitability. With over 20 years in HR and executive leadership, Jim brings a direct, practical approach to building team and systems that actually scale. Jim, fantastic to have you here. All right. So, all right, Tom and I, we're successful business owners. Frankly, we're somewhat arrogant guys. Why would we need to hire you? We think we can do everything ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of owner founders have that same mentality. And but what I like to say when I'm working with them is if you have people, you have people problems. And it often shows up in the people problems and they think it's people. But what I've really found is that's just a deeper symptom of issues with structure, policies, processes, and HR that tends to show up in their people problems. So what they do is I'll replace the people. But you know what? The problems are still there and they're repeatable. And in the end of the day, it impacts their valuation, their exit plans, their life, their quality
So
of
what you're
life.
saying is the problem isn't necessarily the person, the problem is the system.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You get the behaviors.
Adam, I've always told you that you are the person that is the problem, but you never listen to me, you know?
Oh, exactly.
And I see that over and over again.
Well, Jim, I love this saying, right? And it is so true because if anybody has been an owner before, I think your statement resonates with everyone, and that is if you have people, you have people problems. So I love that statement. And what's the biggest thing that you find for most small business owners that becomes the hurdle that some traverse but very few don't? What is that big challenge for the people issue that people just like the owners can't get past that sticking point of really understanding how to make their people their number one strength?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a little bit different for everybody, but the common theme behind it is we get stuck in the pattern of this is the way we've always done it, and not really being able to think about what it really is that's the underlying issue. So I think I got a really good example of one of those. I've worked with a owner founder that was really focused on sales, growing their sales engine, driving the sales engine, and they had a stellar sales performer, just excellent, meeting the numbers all the time. But the guy was toxic, just toxic. Nobody wanted to work with him, couldn't collaborate with him in the company, wouldn't do what the owner founder wanted him to do. They needed to make a shift in what and how they were selling. But hey, he was meeting his top numbers all the time, but selling services, low margin, low profitability types of services. And so when I started digging in and working with that owner, I'm like, why aren't we changing the comp plan? What is the behavior you're rewarding? And they're like, well, we're rewarding sales. Well, why aren't you rewarding why you
Yes,
do
so you're
numbers?
driving the behavior, right? The guys had an attitude because I'm hitting my numbers. You're paying me to hit my numbers. Leave me alone.
Absolutely. Yes. And instead of breaking it down by what does the comp plan really need to look like? What does the quota really need to look like? He was just more worried about, hey, he's meeting his numbers, so I kind of got to leave him alone. And he was actually afraid to make a change, do something different, felt like he was going to get into issues with this guy. And at the end of the day, it's like you have to reward the behaviors that you want to grow the business. You can't let one toxic employee kind of drive your entire culture or outcomes.
Well, and
I love
I'm sorry, Tom, you go.
It's okay. I think Adam, you are stepping on the thing that I really wanted to highlight as well. And I
Yeah.
think that this is so wise that the comp plans and everything around it is really behavioral based. It's not necessarily even metric oriented per se for let's say a sales number, but Jim's bringing up a huge point that I think most of us overlook. And that is how is everything structured on the HR side that will drive behaviors that builds a better culture. I know for you, like if you're anything like me, Adam, like I didn't go that deep into thinking it through strengthening direct behaviors. I just
Mhm.
wanted like metrics that made sense for my company. How about you?
Right. And then typically the owners will think from a metric standpoint, you're thinking revenue, right? You're not everything else is kind of secondary, and you go, oh, it'll work itself out. But if this guy's toxic, it's killing your culture, which is causing employee turnover. So when you do a deep dive, he could be costing the company money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then they look at top line revenue, and revenue is important. But then when they go to make a transaction or get an investment, those investors are looking at margins and details in the numbers that the owner of business often overlooking. They're like, my top line looks good, but when you're looking at how much you may be paying out in commissions or what the margins are, they're not
Mhm.
there. So it decreases their valuation through some policies and things they put in place. So, but Tom, I like what you kind of hit on, and people often ask, well, what makes you different than other HR people? I like to say it's a couple of different things. I do have my background is in industrial organizational psychology. And so that really brings me a different perspective and understanding of human behavior and motivation and how these kind of policies and how people work to drive the kind of outcomes that you're looking for. People aren't computers. It's not an algorithm. It's there's a different set of characteristics and behaviors and personalities that all drive those motivational factors.
Yeah, that's huge. So let's dig into this just a little bit more. Do you think, Jim, that for most people, I know everybody's a little bit different, but do you think running, let's say, a small or fringe mid-market business, the number one issue for like actually making HR a well-oiled machine comes down to this? These people in the leadership of running a small business, whether it's one or like a dozen people, like it's part of the leadership team, they're running around like crazy. They have a million things to do. They know that like people are like a big thing for the company, but nobody really gets a chance to stop and put the right pieces of the puzzle together to create some system that really solves the core issue instead of like constantly band-aiding or putting out fires. Is it really that issue, or is it something different for most?
Think it is that. I think you go through business schools, you get your advice, you get some coaching, and it all focuses around the execution. It focuses on the metrics. It focuses on you don't achieve what you can't measure, and there's a lot of emphasis and focus on that. And those things are all important. I don't want to minimize that, but at the end of the day, it is the people that are driving that. And if you're not really kind of focused on how I be an effective leader to those people, it's just you're spinning your wheels, and it makes it more challenging to accomplish the outcomes that you're trying to get to.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Well, and I also think it's extremely important that you're communicating the value of the other metrics and the type of behaviors that you want to drive from your sales team besides just hitting numbers, right? Because that you gave the toxic employee to everything else, but the bottom line is you drove that behavior because these are the numbers you said. Hit your numbers, and I don't care about anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of times they don't realize it. It's a subconscious or afterthought of what's going on with the people issues. Just like I've seen other companies that have grown and they start out early on and they bring somebody on a co-leader or somebody that's leading a critical function, and that person is the get results at all costs kind of person. You've seen
Mhm.
them before. They leave a trail of dead bodies behind them. They don't care about the relationships. They don't care about the people they lead. And the leadership team is happy with them because they're my go-to person. They're the results person. But
Yeah.
you grow to a certain point, and now that turnover and that culture that person has created, that results at all costs, starts to cost money in hidden ways. And so it is being able early on to start to put some focus on what does it really mean to build the culture that I want? What are the people
Mhm.
systems? Because if you just leave that and don't really think about it or do anything about it, a culture will develop on its own. It
So
will.
you will have a culture, just not the one you may want.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting the culture you're rewarding and behave and rewarding, and the behaviors, even if they're subtle, even if it's not a policy or
Hmm.
something words written on the wall, it's what you're actually doing, and who you're rewarding and who you're promoting. That's the culture that you're building.
Yeah, I've owned multiple businesses over the years, and I can tell you one thing. I wish that I would have actually injected somebody like you in the process, but we sort of like haphazardly landed on times where our team was just we were in sync. You know what I mean? Like we were rocking and rolling and things were good. And then something happened and we really didn't know why because like ultimately we were just trying to grow as fast as possible and everybody was doing their thing. So it wasn't as intentional, but like something shifted or changed and how quickly culture can get deteriorated and your team and complete company can be a mess is insane. It really doesn't take much time. And unfortunately, I think for most folks, if they can resonate with like owning business like what I have in the past, is you really can't put your finger on it because there's so many different factors and things going on that it's like, how did this happen? Like we were just in a good place. How in the world did we get here? And how do we get back? Or how do we improve? Which drives me back to the same thing of going, how do you find time to get this stuff correct and solve problems at the core versus constantly putting out fires? How do you recommend that, Jim, for most of these business owners?
Yeah, and that's where I come in. Really having an expert. Again, you're starting a business, you're doing that, you're small, you're probably not filing your own taxes. I'm sure you have
Mhm.
a CPA to do that for you. You're not getting your own legal advice and writing your own contracts. I'm sure you got somebody to do that. But for some reason, this HR people piece always takes a back burner, because I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert. I love working with people. I'm good at it, but that's not the whole part of the puzzle. There's more about understanding the differences in people and how they're motivated, and having a system and process in place and the guardrails in your policies to help you avoid some of those pitfalls down the road. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's a little pet peeve of mine that they bring in a lot of other experts first, but they tend to wait until way late or until these people problems start to come up before they think, I really need to bring in an HR person, an
Yeah,
experienced.
they'll typically bring in an HR person when there's a problem, right? So
Typically,
it's a
yeah.
good segue. Give us a couple examples of some wild things that have happened and then you had to come in and clean up.
Sure. I got a couple of fun ones. And again, a lot of me and my other HR people I work with say, you can't make this stuff up. One day we should
No,
bring
you can't. That's why we're excited to talk to you.
with some of these. One of my favorite ones was 24/7 call center, supporting hospital emergency rooms. So think about it. It's essentially a virtual emergency room, critical
Mhm.
care patients. It's really important that you're able to take that call. Had an employee, had some medical medical issues and some concerns, came in and said, it's hard for me just to show up for my shift when it starts at 7 a.m. My accommodation is I just like to come in when I want to. And the owner, CEO at the time was just like, we need to fire him. And I'm like, we can if that's the choice you want to make, but let's understand the risk in that. And the risk is they're probably going to have a really good discrimination EEOC, Americans with Disabilities Accommodation suit that they could file against you. I said, so let me deal with that. And
So
so
I'm
we
going to
did.
pause just for 1 second. I'm already cringing as a small business owner for the sheer fact that that can even happen. It's just
Me too. We instinctively tightened up.
Happens
right.
all the time. But
I
again,
don't want to work at 7. I want to come in my underwear at 8:15. Oh, and I still can't fire you.
and they still can't fire you. Correct. Yeah. Not right away. Just give me a week, or just be ready to write a big check. Your choice. You can do it
That's
either
right.
way. But so we worked with the individual. We went through the iterative process, got all the information. At the end of the day, we said we can't accommodate that. And so we had to let her go. But she did. She filed the lawsuit. What the good news is, because we did it that way and took the 2 extra steps and the extra week to go through the iterative process, totally dismissed, no liability on the company, no expense. So it's just
that's
one
a
of those
huge
small
win because
things.
instinctively, both Tom and I don't know if you know, still our physical reaction to that story was, oh my God, that's horrible. And me, I would have said, oh my God, I would have probably fired her instantly, right? But
Yeah,
you were like, no, let's do this correctly. And the fact that you waited the extra week, went through that process, you ultimately saved them.
yeah. It's a protection for the organization. And you know what? The other people, the other employees saw what was going on. She was talking about it. Not that we can limit her. We weren't
Right.
sharing. She was talking to her coworkers about what was going on. It let everybody else on the team know that the company had a good faith, goodwill effort toward making a reasonable
Right,
accommodation.
and that gets back to our early discussion on contributing to the culture, so that by doing that, you really improve the company's culture and everyone's morale, and say, oh, this company cares about us, and this is a great place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do those things, and
So,
it just how you treat employees, how you're writing your policies. I've seen that also over and over again. I pick up a handbook and I'm like, I wouldn't want to work at this place. Every time I turn around, I'm just going to get in trouble. They're just going to smack me for the smallest little thing I do. You can write your policies and put some guardrails in place that make employees feel empowered and that they are part of something positive and they're
mhm.
making solid contributions to your business on a daily basis.
Absolutely, and I have a quick HR funny story I've been dying to tell. So
Okay. Okay.
at the time, now we're all virtual, but at the time I had a big office, and we had our biggest client coming in to like meet with us. We're in the conference room, and as we're walking by one of the offices, one of my IT guys brought in a baby, a goat in, and it just gave birth. So they were like, and it's buying, and I'm like these executives of this major telecom company, and there's a goat. You know? So we forever became known as the vendor with the goat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have never had to write any handbook. You can't
And I
bring
didn't have to write it, and I'm like, and I
animals.
had to look up the employee manual because I wrote it. I was like, we don't have a farm animal policy.
No, I
You're taking
guarantee it's probably
you're
not in
taking
there.
the concept of purple cow very extreme, you know?
Like, really? I
Yeah.
had to tell the guy, you can't bring the goats in anymore.
Now, surprisingly enough, I have had to write into a handbook that when you're doing virtual meetings, you must have pants on. Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm out. I'm not working for that company.
because when, when you're a professional and you stand up and you're in your boxer shorts and somebody complains and you yell at them, that was a guardrail we had to put in the policy. Um, yeah, it
Well,
was an
I think
interesting
that
day.
you brought up one big point that I want to start to like talk about real quick, and then we can bring this stuff home for our audience. But like through the years that I've been in business, I can say this: my either internal team or my external partners have saved me time and time again. Like the people that are on my quote unquote team are critical. And on the reverse, I've had probably the worst times in my professional career dealing with the wrong people in our ecosystem or team. So, like, people 100% matter. In fact, Like, for me, even currently right now, without my fractional CFO, fractional COO, and my direct business advisor that is on a higher level than I am today, without the counsel of even those three people to begin with, I would be lost or making constant stupid decisions that would be hindering my ability to grow as a company. So, like for you, if HR is a big deal in your particular company, I think you make a valid point of going, you should probably get an expert, whether it's internal or external, to guide you through that process because it's very unlikely that you're going to DIY it or figure it out on your own. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Just even little things that I've seen companies do, owner founders, that really care about their people and they come up with these generous PTO policies. And then they have these huge banks of PTO on the books that's now a liability. Again, when they go to sell or an investor looks at that and goes, I'm not paying for all of that PTO.
Yeah, because now it's a liability on your balance sheet.
Yeah, and they're like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So just little things like that, even well-intentioned things that they do. And again, you're dealing with people. So a lot of humbling experiences too. You can do all the right things and still run into issues. I worked with one company where we put everything in place. We had everything right, strong hiring process, all the psychometric properties that you would want in a structured interview. Um, and then we made a hire and person wasn't showing up the first week. It was like, can the person we interviewed show up to the job? I don't understand this. But we had to, the good thing is because we had all that, we were partnering with a strong HR person in place. We were able to address that problem quickly, counsel the person, let them know if this behavior continued, it was going to be lead determination, and we pulled the trigger quickly. Had that owner founder been by themselves, that person probably would have been there for 6, 7, 12 months, soaking up salary, not doing anything. And then the funny thing is, again, you can't make this stuff up. Come to find out, we were job number 3 that they were working. And so thankfully we were able to let them go quickly. But that's the variable you're dealing with. When you're dealing with people, they're all different. You never know what you're going to get. Having some expertise to support you is always a good thing because you just don't know what you're going to run into.
Well, to no surprise, if you deal with people each and every day, there would be a high likelihood that you love dogs, cats, or potentially goats. You know what I mean? A little bit more than human beings. So, Jim, let's bring this stuff home for our audience. If there's one, maybe two, three things, takeaways that you want these small business owners that are listening today to really apply to their own company, what would that be? I mean, what's the big thing that we want the takeaway for going, people are a must, and here's what I really want you to think so that people become your full strength?
Think about the people problems aren't going to go away. They're probably only going to compound. And the people problems aren't actually the people, they're a symptom of some underlying issue going on. So don't wait to bring in an HR expert. Don't think that I can't afford it right now, or it's not a full-time job, or I only have 5 people. It's never too early to start. And I like this model that we've come up with of being able to provide the right level of support at the right expense early enough in to not let the people problems compound and become a huge expense. Because they will become a huge expense either through lawsuits or wrongful terminations or DOL audits. There's just a lot of,
Or lost productivity and damage to your morale.
yeah, lost productivity, damage to your morale. So don't think it's not time yet. Think it's never too early to bring in an expert to help with my people issues.
I think that's an excellent message. So, Jim, just so that our folks know, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you or your company if folks are interested in learning a little bit more about possibly bringing you in to help their people problems?
Yeah, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. there's not that many Camics on LinkedIn, so I think I'm the only Jim on there, so should be easy to find me there. Or you can just send an email at jim@ballavive.com. Either way is an easy way to get in touch with me, and would love to be able to have some conversations and help some people out.
Outstanding. This was a great episode, and really appreciate you being here. And I tell all my guests this: I really, really appreciate you spending a half hour with Tom. I know it was hard.
Same here. I appreciate the invite. It was a pleasure. Well, Jim, it's great having you on board. Not so much Adam, but this has been fantastic. Thanks again for spending some time with us.
Thank you.